For 2,457 days, no man on earth could beat him. Not one. This is the story of the most gifted striker combat sports has ever produced. What he built, what he lost, and the moment it all ended. There was a moment, one moment, when every person watching held their breath. Not because a fight was about to begin, but because they knew they were watching something impossible. Anderson Silva was born in Curitiba, Brazil in 1975. He grew up poor, he grew up hungry, and he grew up watching Bruce Lee films until the VHS tape wore thin. He trained capoeira as a child, then Muay Thai, then boxing, then Taekwondo. He didn't pick one martial art, he absorbed them all. He fought across Brazil, then Japan, then Europe. For years, the world didn't know his name, but the fighters who faced him, they knew. They always knew. He entered the UFC in 2006. First fight, Chris Weidman, a brawler known for taking punishment and giving it back twice as hard. Silva knocked him out in 49 seconds. 49 days later, he fought for the UFC Middleweight Championship. He took it from Rich Franklin, and he would not let go for 7 years. But winning wasn't enough for Anderson Silva. He needed to be different. He needed to be art. He would let punches pass within centimeters of his face, hands at his sides, eyes open, watching. Scientists studied it. Coaches couldn't explain it. Opponents couldn't stop seeing it in their nightmares. Travis Lutter, knocked out. Dan Henderson, knocked out. James Irvin, 61 seconds. Forrest Griffin, the light heavyweight champion, made to look like a beginner. Commentators ran out of superlatives. Joe Rogan, a man who has called thousands of fights, would pause mid-broadcast, searching for words. There were none. He taunted, he danced, he waved opponents forward, come closer, while their punches passed through air he had already left. Then came Chael Sonnen, a wrestler, a trash talker, a man who said things about Anderson Silva that cannot be repeated in polite company. And for 4.5 rounds, he was winning. 4 minutes, 45 seconds into round 5. Silva sank a triangle choke. The fight was over. The legend was cemented. Some say that one submission from a losing position was the greatest competitive performance in MMA history. 2,457 days as UFC Middleweight Champion, 16 title defenses, a record that may never be broken. And through all of it, not one fighter came close to stopping him. Against Vitor Belfort, a knockout artist, a man with dynamite in both hands, Silva threw a strike nobody expected, a front kick, direct to the face, the kind of technique Bruce Lee made famous, the kind no one believed would work at world level. He was not just a fighter, he was a statement, a living argument that combat sports could be beautiful, that a man could walk into a cage and perform a kind of violent grace the world had never seen. Chris Weidman was 36 years old, unbeaten, a wrestler from Long Island who did not care about spectacle. He cared about winning, and he had studied Anderson Silva for years. Silva taunted him, waved him forward, dropped his hands, did everything he had always done. Round 2, Weidman threw a left hook. Silva dropped his head directly into it, and the champion fell. The arena went silent. 7 years, 2,000 days, all of it, in one left hand. Some champions lose, and the world moves on. When Anderson Silva lost, the world stopped. He demanded the rematch immediately, because Silva did not believe it was real. He had spent his whole life making the impossible possible. He believed he could undo this. UFC 168, December 2013, round 2. Silva checked a leg kick. The sound, a crack that echoed through the MGM Grand, was his tibia and fibula snapping in two. He fell to the canvas and looked at his own leg, and the man who had never shown pain showed it then. Surgery, rehabilitation, months of silence. He was 38 years old. His leg had to be rebuilt. His career, everyone assumed, was over. Then came the failed drug test. 2 substances, a USADA suspension. Silva denied knowing. The MMA world divided. Some believed him. Many did not. The legacy, that pristine, extraordinary legacy, now had a shadow across it. He came back. He always came back. But the fighter who returned was not the spider who had made the world hold its breath. He was older, slower. The reflexes that had made him untouchable had begun almost imperceptibly to touch. Rockhold, Brunson, Adesanya, Cannonier. The names are not failures. Every one of those men is extraordinary. But watching Anderson Silva lose, repeatedly, felt like watching a cathedral collapse, stone by stone. He crossed into boxing. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He beat Tito Ortiz. He nearly beat Jake Paul until the scorecards, in a positive testing, said otherwise. Even in decline, the man could still surprise you. His final UFC fight, October 2020, his 44th year, he was released from his contract shortly after. The walk to the cage that he had made famous, the slow strut, hands at his sides, utterly calm. He made it one last time. Nobody quite knew it was the last time. That is the cruelest kind of ending. What do we do with Anderson Silva? The failed tests, the long defeats, the shadow across the gold. Do they undo what we saw? 16 defenses, a decade of dominance, striking that no human being, before or since, has replicated. He was a father, 5 children. He spoke about fear openly, his own fear, going into the cage. He cried publicly. He was soft-spoken and gentle outside the octagon. The violence was the art. The man was something else entirely. There is a particular grief reserved for witnessing greatness leave a great man. The magic does not disappear overnight. It fades, scene by scene, round by round, until one day you watch him move and the cage feels smaller than it used to. But this is what remains. A man who stood in a cage and made the impossible look effortless, who gave a generation of fighters a target they will spend their lives falling short of. The greatest striker MMA has ever seen. That is not sentiment. That is the record. The 10 count, the bell that tolls 10 times, not to end a fight, to honor a career, to say, "We saw you. We will not forget what you were." This is the 10 count. The fights won and the men left standing after them. Subscribe. The next bell is already ringing.